Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Zaylore Stout, author of Our Gay History in 50 States. Zaylore, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul.
Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good. I always joke around about being the Steve Harvey pronunciations because sometimes we just butcher things left and right. So I'm glad we got that done. Are you ready to get started?
I am.
Awesome. Question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
What I would say is to make sure that you consult with professionals. There are amazing small and independent publishing companies out there and professionals that are just waiting to help young authors get out there and get their voice out there. And me, I'm an employment law attorney, so the publishing field was brand new terrain for me. Thankfully, I had a really good friend that was a co-founder of Rising Creative Publishing, and they've made the process as painless as possible. So I'd say, consult with professionals when and where you can, because for me, I never would have known where to secure an illustrator or a book designer or a proofreader or an editor, or even to determine who was a good one to hire. So consulting with professionals, I say, is really, really helpful.
Yeah, it can be quite an intimidating process, especially with this being your first book, because it's just a whole new universe out there.
It is.
Well, and I remember my first book was 4 years ago, and I this book stuck in my head for 4 years, and I was like, I got to get this book out there. So got the book done, got it finished, and then I had to realize, okay, now I need to figure out everything else. So the formatting, the editing, the proofreading, book cover design. I literally spent, it ranges. I think it was at least 15, 18 hours a day where I spent half the day learning everything I could about the publishing process, but then the other half of the day learning about the marketing process. So what you've done by going through this publisher is the fact that you take the guesswork out, you don't have to worry about it, and they're going to be able to take care of everything for you. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, they had an arsenal of folks to be able to help in regards to different areas. So if I had a question, they're like, oh, we have somebody for that. So it made it way easier.
Well, so this is going to be an interesting one. Our second question is always about what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published. So with that, how does that connect with you right now with this being your first book and the fact that you are utilizing the publisher to help you?
Right. Well, for me, it was actually the fundraising part. So since I had a publisher and the rates are reasonable and everything, but there's just all those additional costs and fees that come along with it. My book is going to be a monstrous 350 pages. And it's an LGBT history book. So there's just been a lot of research that has to be done, fact checking and editing and custom illustrations. And so the aspect of fundraising for the book, we had a Kickstarter campaign that we did that was successful. So we were able to raise the funds in regard to that. But I had no idea that, running a Kickstarter campaign is like another full-time job.
Yeah.
So, again, my publisher they had some experts there in regards to, crowdfunding and the best tactics to use for those. But for me, it was the whole fundraising aspect, because I don't think I understood from the beginning, all the different costs associated with getting a book out there. So
you mentioned you went through Kickstarter. So what was your journey in regards to that? Because we've had several people on the show that have gone through crowdfunding. Some of them did very well, and some of them not so well. So how was your journey with that?
Well, I did a lot of research in regards to similar books and tried to model my Kickstarter program after what was successful for them. I mean, there's a few out there that have just knocked it out of the park in regards to their fundraising efforts. So it's really getting a really clear and crisp message out there, which takes time to hone down your message for the book, making sure that there's great visuals as it relates to it, make sure that you have really fun and creative type of rewards you can have out there. So one of the fun, crazy rewards we had was, you can buy a book for you and then you can send a book to Mike Pence. So there were a lot of people that jumped on that bandwagon and thought that was kind of funny and clever to send an LGBT history book to our vice president.
Now that is definitely an innovative strategy. And when you said that, I was like, "Oh wow, that definitely takes it next level." But that's just a great hook, and obviously, we know with the vice president, he has I try to keep politics out of the show, but he has certain viewpoints, and those
Correct.
viewpoints
Yeah.
aren't always well received. So the fact that you've added that with this and the subject matter of your book, that definitely will grab the attention.
Yeah, and it did. It sure did. So, got to get creative. You got to get creative.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, what was the end result of your campaign?
Oh, so we met our we exceeded our funding results, our funding goals. So we're happy with that.
Do you mind if I ask you what the ballpark was?
Oh, $20,000,
Wow.
over 20,000. Mm-hmm.
And you did it.
And we did it. I know it was getting close to the wire. There's a whole formula in regards to it, and luckily we our Kickstarter campaign actually ended up getting picked up by Kickstarter as one of the ones that a campaign that they love. So it was featured through Kickstarter as well.
So,
So I'm sure that was helpful for visibility.
what are some of the pieces of advice that you would give for those authors out there that listen to the show that may have an interest in going through the crowdfunding route?
Well, I mean, there's difficult decisions you have to make in the very beginning because, for example, if my memory serves me correct, because this was last year when we did the Kickstarter, that Kickstarter is it's all or nothing. If you don't reach your goal, you don't get the funds. But there's other platforms out there where you get the funds regardless of whether you meet your goal. And so, there's stress that comes along with, you getting close and wondering if you're even going to make it that final, push to be able to get over the goals. So you're going to get these funds, as opposed to having all of that work you did be for naught. But Kickstarter is the premier one that's out there. Then, and so it was a difficult decision in the beginning, deciding which way to go. But I relied on the insight of my experts that are in the field, and they said, "Let's go for it. We should be able to make it happen," and we sure did.
Yeah, I guess that's one of the things I've noticed. Those that go through Kickstarter, if you don't hit your goals, then you don't get a dime. So we've had other guests on the show that have talked about some of the other crowdfunding options, just because there is that risk. However, if
Hmm.
you really do kick something in Kickstarter, which obviously one of the hooks that you mentioned was in regards to sending the book to the vice president, that probably got a lot of attention and also helped you with the niche of the book and also with the marketing side of it.
Right. And the timing of it is important as well. So we did our Kickstarter last year during Gay Pride Month, which is June of every year. And so there's already a lot of excitement and energy relating to that time of the year in the area, especially in regards to LGBT rights. So we intentionally timed it well from that perspective. So I'm sure that was helpful too.
Well, now that you have the Kickstarter fund and you've got your publishing company, let's talk about the next phase, and that is going to be in regards to marketing the book. Because I know you
Hmm.
mentioned that
Hmm.
the book's coming out in June, so please
Yes.
share a marketing strategy, or all of them if you like, that you would
Hmm.
like to use in your book launch that you feel is going to work well.
Well, I kind of alluded a little bit to it in regards to how it was that when we decided to focus on the Kickstarter campaign last year. But there's for the LGBT rights movement, let's say that there's two important times of the year. There's June, which is Gay Pride Month, and then there's October, which is LGBT History Month. So we timed the book launch to coincide with the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall riots, and so that's pretty much known as where the rise of the modern gay rights movement started. So there's going to be, as well as not only is it the 50th anniversary of Stonewall riots, but there's also a World Pride Festival that happens and moves around the world. And that World Pride Festival is actually going to be in New York this year as well. So, I mean, we couldn't have timed it better for having, a built-in audience, built-in marketing opportunity. Folks that are going to be wanting to do book signings and Pride events, and corporations that are going to be looking to sponsor and have events as well to be able to show that they support this historic moment and movement in our country's history. And so, one of the tips that I would provide to authors, because I've noticed this as well with other books by historians and well-published authors, is try to see if you can time your launch of your book to some significant historical event or anniversary of a historic event that somehow coincides with the content in the book.
And that is a great piece of advice, because obviously when you're talking about certain months and certain events and everything, if you can tie that together, what are some of the things that you are going to be tying this book around? Because it mentioned with it being in June and everything, what are some of the specific events that you're going to tie the launch to?
Well, we'll be present at the Gay Pride events at the end of June. So June 28th is the Stonewall anniversary. So
Yep.
we'll be participating in Pride events, doing book signings in New York, participating in all those aspects. But one of the great things is that we're such a large country. Everybody can't have their Pride on the same weekend. So, Pride start, towards the end of May and actually go all the way through November. So, we have it staggered out where we're trying to hit as many Pride events as we can, as well as we're securing corporate sponsors for the book. And so each of those individual corporate sponsors will have the ability to have us come out and speak in regards to the book and do book signings and all those different types of things. So it's going to be a busy Pride month, but we're really excited about it.
Well, when you mentioned about seeking corporate sponsors for the book, so what is your strategy with that? Because on the show we've done 271 episodes now, and you're the first person that's mentioned specifically about getting corporate sponsorship. So, what are some of the
Hmm.
things that you would recommend for that aspect?
Hey, well, I can't give away all the secrets.
Well, not all of them, just a couple, just a couple.
Well, let me think. What can I give away where I'm not giving away the whole box? But
That's
here's the
fair.
thing. So, depending on what the topic of the book is, there's always going to be different corporate interests that are going to be amenable to that particular social justice issue or angle. So, for us, we look at organizations and businesses that sponsor LGBT like events. So you can look at what companies are the ones that are out there advertising and marketing towards the LGBT community. You look at LGBT publications and see what companies are sponsoring and targeting these markets. And the LGBT community in the United States has a purchasing power of about $1 billion a year. And so it's a significant segment of the population, especially when you go to dollars. And I think that's part of why corporations have been moving towards making sure that they're showing the fact that they're inclusive in regard to this particular segment of the community, and that they value the contributions of the LGBT community. So it's been kind of easy in regards to being able to identify which companies are amenable to having their name affiliated and associated with the LGBT community, and the company's names just continue to grow as we've moved on in regards to this social justice issue. So it's been fun.
When you bring up the best point with that, it's all about making sure you have that niche market, your target market, and that it's going to be a fit. And that's a universal principle. You can apply that to any book that's out there. It's
Hmm.
finding the right area and the right hook to be able to build those relationships. And it can be as simple as just sending an email to a specific company and going, hey, who's your person takes care of this? We have a potential opportunity, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So for me, we've been reaching out to the employee resource groups. Some of the larger organizations have LGBT employee resource groups, and so that's been a great way to be able to get a shoe in and meeting folks and getting to the decision makers that would be deciding, how the company is going to be spending some of their funds or honoring historic events like, the anniversary of Stonewall.
Well, let's talk about your favorite book. So, what is your favorite book? And what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
Oh, favorite book. There's so many. But what I will say is the book that was the most impactful on me as a person, I'd say is actually a pretty simple book. I think it's pretty silly, but it's Don't Sweat the Small Stuff and It's All Small Stuff by Richard Carlson. Um, I was quite the perfectionist when I was younger, my college days, and would be extremely stressed out when, I couldn't manage things to be perfect and fit into a particular box. Especially when, we're ever trying to go somewhere and other people make me late because I'm on time and I'm picking up folks and they're not ready. I mean, uh, so the interesting thing that I loved about the book was that it helped provide some context that, everything doesn't need to be perfect. Sometimes things just need to get done. you know? And so, it seems like a pretty easy and simple concept, but it was mind blowing for me at the time. But so that's a good one, as well as the fact that, you know, when we all leave this earth, there will always be items in our inbox. So stressing out about making sure that your inbox is empty, you may miss important life experiences and important life moments when you're focused and stressed about the small stuff. So, don't forget to smell the roses is really what it's all about.
Well, one of the things I always teach my clients, because I have the same issue being a perfectionist, and the main thing I have to realize is done is better than perfect. Just get it out there, you can fix it later.
True.
Well, for our final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
Well, I love this question because there's tons of quotes in my book. So I had to research a gazillion quotes and then identify which ones were going to make it into the book. So one of the quotes that jumped out at me that I want to be able to cite here is a quote by Angela Davis, and it's I think the importance of doing activist work is precisely because it allows you to give back and to consider yourself not as a single individual who may have achieved whatever, but to be a part of an ongoing historical movement. And the reason why I like this one is because, it helps provide some context in regards to history and social justice and social movements. So whether you're talking about the civil rights movement or the women rights movement or the disability rights movement or the LGBT rights movement, all of these movements, they wouldn't be where they are today, and but for the hard work of all those that came before them. And so, I see it as like a cobblestone road. An individual cobblestone may seem, stone may seem insignificant in and of itself, but collectively, it creates a path for generations to follow. So I hope that my book ends up being one of those cobblestones.
Excellent. Well, Zaylor, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
All right. Well, I'm actually probably on all the social media platforms, but I'd recommend using LinkedIn. So it's under my name. So Zaylore, last name Stout. If they're trying to reach me via email, especially in regards to the book, they can email me at my first name, Zaylore, at gay5050states, plural.com.
Well, thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you so much for providing me with this opportunity and for helping get the word out to all those that are out there that are looking to publish their own books as well.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how you can be featured in our brand new Get Published business book, go to getpublishedpodcast.com.